Everybody? Let's try that again. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Police Commission meeting to order, and we'll begin by asking Captain Maloney to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, happy summer, everybody. We're going to make efficient use of this time. We're grateful to have so many people here today. And we'll request a motion to suspend the agenda and move up item number 1 under the chief's items for award recognition ceremony.
I move to suspend the agenda and move up the recognition and awards.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Chief, take it away. Better go down in this house.
Thank you for all attendance. Sorry we were late. We were wrapping up another meeting that went a little bit longer. I'd like to start this off with some recognition of an event that our officers went over and above, to include some dispatchers. On July 10th, 2022, Portsmouth Patrol officers were dispatched to the Piscataqua Bridge for a report of a female sitting on a barrier over the railing of the bridge. New Hampshire State Police, Kittery Police, Maine State Police, and the Portsmouth Fire Department were dispatched to the call as well. Upon arrival to the scene, Officer Mike Nicoli confirmed there was a vehicle pulled over in the northbound lane with its hazards on, and a female was observed over the barrier, sitting on the edge. Immediately, Officer Nicoli started a dialogue with the female in an attempt to gain a rapport with her. Officer Molly Bossi from Kittery PD and our own Officer Seth Chavez, both trained crisis negotiators, worked together in an attempt to convince the female to climb back over the barrier. Though they made some progress in establishing a rapport with the female, she refused to climb back to safety. Officer Bossi was eventually able to grab the female's right arm, while Officer Chavez grabbed onto the female's left arm and body. Meanwhile, Officers Timothy Conroy and Michael Nicoli held on to Officer Chavez to ensure he was not pulled over the concrete barrier. In a team effort, they were all able to successfully pull the female back over the barrier and off the side of the road, all while the woman continued to resist and fight officers. Officers assisted the paramedics with getting her situated in an ambulance for transport to the hospital for medical treatment. Along with the brave actions of Officer Chavez, Conroy, and Nicoli, other Portsmouth patrol units placed their cruisers in travel lanes to protect personnel working the scene. Behind the scenes of the entire event were dispatchers Ed Walsh and Tori Bemis, who calmly and effectively dispatched officers to the call and supported their every need. Officers went above and beyond with the guidance and support from their dispatchers to ensure a peaceful resolution. The female ended up reaching out to our police department to express her gratitude to the officers who helped save her life. She was eternally thankful that they were there to prevent what could have been a tragedy. Congratulations. The Officer Nicoli. Are these all the same, Jackie? Let me get there's our photographer.
Thank you.
Officer Conroy. Should award. Officer Chavez is not able to make it. Dispatcher Tori Bemis is not able to be here. And Officer Walsh is actually downstairs working, so. Oh, he's there? Oh, you're over there. You're hiding on me. Come on up, Ed, sorry. You're on the other side, you're on my left side. Congratulations.
Thank you all. We appreciate the work you do. It's remarkable and truly a testament to the quality of the community policing that this department's able to deliver under very extraordinary circumstances these days. So thank you all very much. With that, we will move back into the agenda. We will ask for the acceptance of the minutes for the meeting held on June 13th, 2022.
I move to accept the minutes of the June 13th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we move on to the public comment portion of the meeting. Does not appear we have anyone here who wants to make public comment. So with that, we'll move on to our police commission agenda items. We've already covered the acknowledgements and appreciation for the work of this department in the most recent event that the chief referenced and acknowledged with folks here earlier tonight. So why don't we move on to facilities update? Who would like to begin, Chief or Karen?
Well, I was going to say the RFP or RFQ went out. The deadline, I think, is today for them to receive packages from any vendor that wanted to submit. So that's where we are.
Okay. At one point, I know, and we've talked about this before, but relative to the new facility planning, the assembly of a task force or some kind of group that would be combined representation of the council, the city staff and team, and then a representative from the commission. Have we all heard anything from city manager's
Just
office
kind
or
of-
council?
That recommendation is made from both sides, from the council and from you guys, so I guess we just have to coordinate
Okay.
putting a meeting
Putting in
together
place.
to
Okay.
form the committee.
So what's the best next step? Well, should I follow up with the city manager to formally make her city, or the mayor?
Mayor.
Okay. So why don't we, I guess, let's decide collectively as the commission will submit a written request to the mayor to assemble a formal task force to get this moving.
And kind of a compilation of who you're looking for, like
Sure,
some from
sure.
the public and.
Working group, if you will.
Yes, yep.
And we need to make sure to call it by the right name.
All right.
Otherwise, it can cause administrative problems.
All right. Right, I don't think, right.
And I'm sorry, I jumped over the restoration part.
No, that's okay. So that's all relative to the new facility or the public safety facility planning.
Right.
Where are we with restoration and?
So we're moved down to the basement floor, so hopefully this should be the last, well, actually, we still have some more other steps to go, but we're progressing with the remediation in the locker rooms, some of the spaces downstairs by our range and storage rooms down there, our gym. And once that's completed, we'll continue to progress. I think we still have to do the court office and the dispatch center from there. But slowly but steadily, we're progressing.
All right. Any questions from the commission on restoration?
Just one, any sense of completion time?
No, to answer your question.
Fair enough.
We have all the contractors in place now to do this next step. We kind of just work in phases, because we don't know how long that, I mean, we could project that that phase should be hopefully done by the end of August.
It's the last phase?
The next two phases we have would be the court office and the dispatch center following this, so. Our hopes, I would say that we should be completely done conservatively, would be by the end of the year.
Is detectives complete now?
Detectives has
okay,
been
good.
completed,
Yeah.
yes.
And Joel Mead is taking care of all the reporting to the Department of Labor, I guess. We give him updates.
Yeah.
Great, that's great. Any other questions on the restoration? Okay, so we'll move on to community priorities. A few things to highlight for those watching at home tonight. We do intend to have an update on how things are going with emergency response with Seacoast Mental Health. But because this is a summer meeting and participation is light, we figured we will wait on that. July was the halfway mark when things really start to fully ramp up, hopefully with staffing, et cetera. So I'll have more to hear on that in September. Also, for the same reason, we're not going to formally vote on the proposed NDA policy at this meeting. We will plan to do that in the September meeting. So if anyone has any comments or outstanding questions on the draft language for the policy, it's currently on the website. Is that right, Commissioner Scher?
That's my understanding.
So check it out on the website and feel free to weigh in if there's any questions or concerns on that. Anything else on community priorities you want to highlight?
I think that pretty much sums up where we are at this point.
One question for the chief or for Karen. Where are we on the new
RFP?
CRM? Is it
CAT RMS system,
CAT RMS system?
it has been sent out. There was two candidates that we're reviewing to select the final company to bring in, to make the next steps.
When do we anticipate making that decision?
I think we
That's it.
just got back to,
Well, I was gonna say, we did 2 additional demos with those 2 vendors. More,
it's some follow-up
yeah,
questions and interviews that we're progressing through. I think we just had the last one.
right. And plus, there were some additional, like, modules that we're potentially looking at. You have to offer both vendors the opportunity to provide and to bid and stuff like that. So we're kind of in that mode. We spoke to legal, and they just said to put everything side by side for them, and anything additional so that they can review it. And I think Daisy's in the process of compiling that at this point.
Just a follow-up, and are each of you confident that each of the 2 vendors can meet the specifications that the community group identified?
Yeah, I was gonna say both of them mentioned that study, the COP study. So,
Yeah, I believe so, and that's why, like, right now, we're getting into the weeds
Yeah.
with both of them to make sure that
everything.
it can do everything that they say it can do.
Good.
Yeah, just for your benefit, Commissioner Scher, because the drafting of the RFP language occurred before you were elected to the commission, but the recommendations from the community group were taken into account as part of the drafting
It
of
was
the
part of they were in the RFP.
They actually received all the documents,
Right.
so.
Any other questions, points about community priorities?
None for me.
Okay, and then just as a reminder for anyone watching at home that Tuesday, August 2nd, is National Night Out. So you will see many people, some of our equipment out in the neighborhoods and in the community on Tuesday night for National Night Out. Please make an effort to get outside, say hello, spread the word. It's a great night in the community and in the city. Anything else on National Night Out anyone wants to highlight? All right, I'm turning it over to you, Chief, for the rest of your agenda items.
All right. We already did the award ceremony, just to acknowledge some of the more great work that our officers are doing and going over and above the expectations set for them and working for our community. On the grants, we have received some ARPA funding from the Department of Justice for the New Hampshire Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force for the amount of $700,000. We'll need the commission to make a motion and vote on accepting
I move to accept the grant in the amount of $700,000 from the Department of Justice through the American Rescue Plan Act for the New Hampshire Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and to forward it to the City Council for their action.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second grant that we have received is a canine grant. We are in the process of retiring one of our canines and purchasing a new canine. We were awarded a grant for the amount of $7,500 to go towards the cost of acquiring a new canine.
Can we get a motion to accept the grant?
I move to accept the grant in the amount of $7,500 from the USPCA AKC Reunite Canine Grant for the Portsmouth Police Department's Canine Unit, and to forward it to the City Council for their action.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next is just some acknowledgements of some other great work that's been going on in the police department by our officers on their own, patrol officers that stepped up and did an ice cream social on National Ice Cream Day in the square. The officers went out and purchased some ice cream and started handing them out in the square to people that were in the community. And it was a well-received and a big hit in the downtown that day.
I'm sorry I missed that part.
And I can just say, I thought the social media posts highlighting that activity were really fun. And it's a good reminder to the community that we're on the ground and in the neighborhoods. It's great.
Next is recognition from Sherry and Craig Samard commending Officer Fisher on the handling of a report involving our injured hawk. We're fortunate enough to have Officer Fisher here as, I don't know what the official title is. I think she's a falconer,
Yeah,
but she
Falconer.
takes care of wildlife on her own time outside of the police department. But there was an injured hawk that was found while she was on duty, and she went and rescued it and brought it to the proper people that can care for it and take care of it, and led to the saving of the hawk. So we wanted to recognize and make acknowledgement of that. Quarterly accreditations.
Another example of the way our many talented officers have skill sets that you never would think come in handy, but in that case, I mean, what are the chances? Well done.
Moving on to accreditation updates. Year 3 of our 4-year reaccreditation process came to an end in January. At the end of May, a compliance service member known as a CSM for CALIA reviewed 25% of the standards in our assessment to confirm continued compliance. Approximately 100 standards were looked at. Overall, the assessment went well. It was the belief of our accreditation manager that the CSM was unfair in her critique and what she perceived as a standard issue. An issue other departments had experienced with the same CSM. Our regional program manager disagrees with the CSM's critiques and feels that our assessment meets current standards. The Northern New England Police Accreditation Coalition is in the process of scheduling a meeting with CALIA's executive director to discuss the topic of training for the CSM as a compliance service member and their general concerns in regard to our experience with this particular member. Our next file review will be scheduled in December for 2022.
So Chief, I also wanted to follow up in the spirit of accreditation as a topic. I know there's been some publicity about efforts at the state level to implement a different or a new accreditation.
So the state is talking about putting into place their own accreditation process that will, for us, would parallel CALIA. Being a CALIA accredited department, I'm sure we will meet all the standards that are in the state's process, but the state's trying to put together a program for other departments across the state that may not have the ability to become CALIA accredited or have the funding to join CALIA. So they're putting a state process in place.
Is that by regulation, by statute? Do you know?
I'm not positive it came out of part of the reforms, but I'm assuming it did, because it's going to be run through police standards and training, and part of the reform bill that happened
Okay.
there.
And just to dovetail on that, with some of the things that we're doing with CALIA that, you know, in terms of those high standards, one of that includes sort of some of the satisfaction survey that that we're having UNH do, which is, you know, sort of, and we want to implement some of those surveys as part of the tracking tool for the RGR recommendations. But it just, it does show one of the reasons why hitting that CALIA standard is so great, because we are sort of, you know, going above and beyond and hitting higher standards that are, you know, giving us more information for our communities.
Well, and that's part of the reason I raise it, because I've already had somebody say, well, why do we need to be CALIA accredited if there's going to be a state accreditation process? And I think it's important for people to know we're already way ahead of the game relative to what other departments may need to be doing in terms of catch up once a new state accreditation program is put in place. So people should feel proud of that.
And in terms of applications for potential federal grants, it's always better to have a national accreditation rather than a state accreditation.
And also, I'd mentioned the state at one time had an accreditation program previously, and then it became unfunded and just kind of fell by the wayside. So now it's being recreated again. And back then we were state accredited, which helped us obtain our CALIA accreditation. But CALIA obviously has more standards in place, and we had to rise to a higher level of accountability through the CALIA.
Right. It would be great if the state could incentivize and reimburse municipalities for accreditation-related expense of the national accreditation process, as opposed to potentially recreating the wheel. But that's for another day.
Move the traffic stops. Stats for the month of June 2022, the total motor vehicle stops was 738. The number of arrests was 10. Summonses were 31. Written warnings were 167, and verbal warnings were 514. We had total of 48 motor vehicle crashes in the month of June.
Chief, is the 48 number high for, I mean, I know June in general is a very busy time.
I'm gonna ask Mike on that.
No, statistically speaking, we have very, very low numbers of crashes, so there's two different types of crashes. There's a reportable crash or a non-reportable crash. A reportable crash would be damages in excess of $1,000. A non-reportable would be paint transfer in the Market Basket parking lot. So the number he reads there would be a reportable crash, a crash where you have damage. On average, we have a high single-digit number of reportable crashes per week. The last couple weeks, 8 and 7, I think. So that number, in and of itself, is not a spike in any one direction or another. And considering the amount of cars that are on our road any given day, to have, you know, maybe 12 a week is low. But even just the stats from last Tuesday, I think we had 8 last week. So that's just over 1 a day for, 7-day period, and that's pretty consistent. And I think that high number at the beginning, which was the amount of traffic stops, that's where we see a direct correlation in reducing crashes,
Sure.
because that's the goal.
And those numbers go up in the summer when there's more people in town? Am I overstating it?
Which the traffic numbers?
The crashes.
They do, but they don't spike like you think they might.
Out-of-state drivers? or
Well, yeah,
state
I think
drivers?
part of it too is that the summertime traffic is generally a lot slower because traffic is backed up, which therefore may lend to fewer accidents rather than when people are driving at a higher rate of speed. That is all I have on my agenda.
All right. Any other items anyone would like to raise?
Well, Karen could give a financial report.
Okay, Karen, on to you.
Okay, and there are no financial reports. We're in the process of closing FY '22, and July is the first reporting period in FY '23, and that hasn't closed yet. We are gonna be returning funds, I just won't have an exact figure until your next meeting. In terms of grants, we've submitted a few grant applications this period. New Hampshire Highway Safety allowed us to amend our traffic enforcement grants to include some equipment. We chose a speed message board. Excuse me. The current message boards we have were purchased in 2000, 2005, and 2009. They're all still working, I believe. One's in repair right now, but just having the newer technology, and plus this will be a smaller unit that patrol can deploy when they need to. We've submitted the VOCA grant, which pays 55% of our victim advocate position. The other is under the VAWA grant. And the Bulletproof Vest grant, we submitted that, which pays 50% of our vest replacement cycle. Every officer receives a new vest every 5 years. We were told by our grant administrator that the federal ICAC grant will be coming forth so that we can apply for that. That's pretty much a done deal. They tell us how much and we apply. That funds 100% of our ICAC commander, Lieutenant Kinsman, and 80% of a detective. And we'll put those before you when they come in. The strategic plan, my apologies, still not done. We've had a change in detectives with the commander there and in patrol, so I just want to meet with them and see if they're good with what everybody else put. And that's it.
Any questions for Karen, commissioners?
None.
No.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Karen. All right. Anything else? Any other miscellaneous business or other topics to cover?
I don't think I have
All
anything.
right. Well, just for folks at home, this time of year is always hectic for hopefully some fun reasons. Hopefully people are staying healthy. Tuesday, September 20th is our next commission meeting. So have a safe and healthy August. We hopefully will see you at National Night Out on Tuesday. And with that, like a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.